Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out a regional championship winning team. This was built and piloted by a player called Wu Chen, who was able to win a regionals over in Taiwan with it very recently. So first of all, huge congratulations to him for winning the event, and thank you to him for sharing the team. There are a lot of interesting components on this team. We've actually used most of these Pokemon at this point, but a lot of cool stuff like Arcanine in Series 8, which I've basically seen very little of, Assault Vest Yveltal, and a Amnesia and Iron Defense Leftovers Registeel. I think I actually lost against that on Road to Ranked a couple of weeks back, so it's really cool to see that rise to the top. Registeel is a Pokemon that I first saw really in VGC this year, introduced by Eric Rios back in Series 7, and it's, it can be really bulky. It has great defense, great special defense. After a single Amnesia or Iron Defense, it becomes very difficult to knock out, and basically becomes this late game monster. So this is an interesting take on Series 8, right? It's definitely a little bit slower, a little bit bulkier. You've got Snarl on the Yveltal and the Arcanine, and Yveltal typically is just a bulkier restricted Pokemon, right? It's not really going to pick up big one-hit KOs, but at the same time, it's not going to take very much damage in return. With Dual Intimidate on this team and the Assault Vest on Yveltal, very difficult to reliably KO Yveltal, and Yveltal often is a strong Dynamax candidate, right? You get a bunch of max Airstreams off, you can max Darkness to lower your opponent's special defense, and then Oblivion Wing to heal off, especially once you're faster than your opponent in the end game. So Life Orb Landorus is going to be your strongest offensive component with this team just in terms of doing pure damage, but Yveltal, very strong as a Dynamax option as well, and so is Tapu Fini. It's just classic Calm Mind Fini. We haven't actually run into that too much recently, and I think it's still definitely a pretty strong set, especially when you consider a lot of restricted Pokemon are special Pokemon. So on this team, you can Snarl those Pokemon and Calm Mind to make it pretty difficult to KO Fini. I think one thing that Fini does well is also stalling out your opponent's Dynamax Mons, because it can take multiple max moves, especially given that it has a Healing Berry in the Ogluff Berry. So really cool to see this team rise to the very top of the tournament once again. Huge thank you to Wu Chen for the team. I have linked their Twitter in the description below, as well as a link to Victory Road and all of the top teams from that tournament. So all that good stuff's linked down below, as well as a rental. So yeah, let's get into today's episode. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what your favorite ice cream topping is down in the comment section below. I have a big sweet tooth, so, I definitely like candy, like Sour Patch Kids on my ice cream, or just, things like chocolate chips or some chocolate syrup. Those would probably be my main answers, but, yeah, want to know what you all think down in the comment section below. Let's get started. All right, getting into our first match of the day. What do we got? Cresselia Kyogre. Wow, I feel like I'm playing VGC 2010 right now, especially with Cress, Kyogre, and Metagross. That's really cool. I think this is actually a really incredible matchup for Yveltal, though, so that's kind of hyped to see. I think Yveltal Registeel is excellent here. Landorus doesn't make much... Well, it's actually not bad offensively, especially into the Metagross, but what makes me nervous is the fact it can get one-shot by Kyogre, right? I think Yveltal's really fantastic to lead here. Okay, what am I nervous about? Whimsicott Kyogre? Maybe Tailwind Water Spout stuff? That could be a little scary. I want to go with Yveltal, Alecki, Fini, and Registeel. And maybe we lead Fini here. Or I lead Alecki. I like leading Alecki because it puts on pressure against Kyogre, and it also drops speeds for Yveltal. We definitely want Registeel here. Fini, Arcanine. Arcanine really would be to Will-O-Wisp Metagross. Flamethrower is not bad damage output here. I think Fini's a little bit better, though, especially because they have Urshifu, and I expect that to be Dark Urshifu. So it's a really cool team for my opponent. They're pretty highly ranked as well. And yeah, I haven't seen Cresselia very much in Series 8. Cresselia, Kyogre plus Metagross, like those are mons you'd see maybe back in VGC 2010. Whimsicott's interesting here, so I think, my opponent has a Tailwind component with Cress, Amoonguss, Kyogre, but also a Trick Room component with that, but also a Tailwind component. And they're going to just go with Cresselia and Amoonguss. Okay, if you're leading that, what you should do turn 1 is just protect Amoonguss and Trick Room with Cresselia, I think. So then you can just Spore turn 2 onto Yveltal. I have Fini, though, which is obviously good for us. The best play here is to safely switch in Fini. You know what? I like this. Actually, I like this a lot. I'm going to go into Fini. I expect Amoonguss to protect, but it's fine if it doesn't. Like, I don't want to make the risk that it doesn't protect and then have Yveltal get spored. Because Crust and Amoonguss are very passive. And as soon as Misty Terrain goes up, you can't Spore me. You can Spore the Yveltal, by the way, because it's not grounded, so it's not affected by Misty Terrain. So here I wanted to stay in and click Snarl and make the read that Amoonguss goes for Protect, but I don't think the reward is really worth it for us there. Yeah, they didn't Protect. Okay, that's exactly why. Cool. So the thing is, now I get Fini out, and I get Registeel out next to the Fini. So even if you Trick Room, I'm just going to Calm Mind and Iron Defense next. Or actually, I'll probably Amnesia over Iron Defense, because Kyogre should be in the back. So it's Registeel time. Nice. Yeah, they just Spore into the Yveltal slot, looks like. Yep. Yeah, so that's why, like, it's going for a Snarl wasn't worth it, right? Because, of course, I could have Double Dab onto Amoonguss, let's say Oblivion Wing and Volt Switch, but what does that even get me? Well, one, I don't even know if it KOs. And two, I don't want to Dynamax Yveltal in this position. So this is perfect now, because we can just Calm Mind and Iron Defense. Or no, we want Amnesia, right? I'd rather Amnesia first, Iron Defense second. But Amoonguss is I was going to say completely useless. It does have Sludge Bomb, so it's actually able to do a sizable amount there. That's fine. Okay. Like, I think Registeel alone is just so good here. We'll get Calm Mind off as well. Beautiful. I honestly wonder if Cresselia, like, maybe wants to reverse the Trick Room right now. That could be really interesting. Or it's just fast and, yeah. They end up reversing their own Trick Room. Okay. So Amoonguss is in a really awkward spot right now. And in my opinion, I think it's likely it switches out. You could just keep going for Sludge Bomb on a Fini, but I do want to Moonblast and Iron Defense this turn. Now that we already got an Amnesia boost off, Water Spout's going to be doing less. If Amoonguss switches out, great. Oh, they're going to go for Helping Hand Sludge Bomb. Okay, I like that a lot. Shouldn't KO us, though, so I'm fine. Special Attack Drop would be quite nice here, but yeah, the Amoonguss having Sludge Bomb does help a lot here. And we do get a Special Attack Drop, which is very fortunate, but that's the upside of attacking first. I mentioned this as a principle a lot in VGC, but, you know, that's why speed control is important. You can move before your opponent, you have the ability to get crits, get secondary effects. They have Clear Smog as well as Sludge Bomb? And Spore? It's Protectless Amoonguss then, for sure. Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. That's interesting. I'm gonna Calm Mind again, I think. Because I have that special attack drop, and if you clear Smog, you'll just activate my Berry. So let's just go for another Iron Defense. Like, I think Registeel just gets fully set up in this game. The good thing is you can't clear Smog the Registeel either. Okay, so Crest switches out. Maybe into Urshifu here. Nope, they bring out Kyogre. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is definitely an interesting game. I think we definitely have the matchup here. So, but that Clear Smog and Sludge Bomb combination, I definitely wasn't expecting. That also explains the lack of Protect on turn 1, honestly. But I think Dynamax Yveltal's looking very, very good right now. If they didn't bring the Urshifu, dealing with this Registeel is going to be very difficult for them. I could even Dynamax Registeel and Steel Spike, honestly. Yeah, they go for Sludge Bomb. We should survive this, and they should activate our Berry after Calm Mind. Okay, nice. If you're Kyogre now, you can just Thunder into the Tapu Fini, right? I don't even know if Thunder KOs. I think it's Rage Powder, Spore, Sludge Bomb, and Clear Smog Amoonguss with Focus Sash. That's my guess. So I'm gonna... what do I want to do here? We should survive Water Spout, but it will do a sizable amount. Like, I'm gonna Muddy Water and Protect here. Because that guarantees damage. Oh, I probably need to swap out... that's okay if Fini faints. Yeah, they're not going for a Dynamax and Kyogre. They might not even have Thunder, TBH. There's Rage Powder. So we know it's Protectless Amoonguss. Yeah, well, as soon as I saw Sludge Bomb, I was like, you probably don't have Clear Smog, but they had both. Oh, we're just faster than Kyogre. Okay. That's really nice. I got a Rain boosted Muddy Water off, plus 1 special attack. Honestly, decent damage. They did Thunder, though. Okay, nicely played. But I think it's fine, because now I just go into Yveltal. And I Dynamax Yveltal. And I can just Airstream your Amoonguss and Body Press into the Kyogre. Terrain's gone, but now Amoonguss is vulnerable to a max Airstream. I guess my only fear here is if you're Cobra Berry Amoonguss, but I feel like Sash makes so much more sense if you don't have Protect. Right? But the good thing is we know it doesn't have Protect, so we have a guaranteed max Airstream into that slot. I like max Airstreaming here. Actually, we could just Oblivion Wing. I'm not sure I need the Dynamax turn this turn. Okay. Oblivion Wing and just Body Press here feels okay to me. I don't want to commit a turn of Dynamax. I guess the only risk is I might get crit. They're going to max Kyogre. Was it better to max Yveltal here? Because max Geyser and Rain is going to hurt a lot. What's interesting is we could actually max Registeel or Alecki right now. If my opponent's last one is an Urshifu, like max Registeel could actually be good because you just boost your defense and then body press once the defense is over. It's actually Koba? No way. Oh, wow. Koba, Clear Smog. I think Airstream might have just KO'd through Koba there, so I guess I should have anticipated the Koba. Wow. That is really surprising to me. They're going to Geyser into Yveltal. We survive. Probably Spore into the Registeel slot. It's great damage from Body Press. Okay, they double up into Yveltal. You know what? I'm fine with that. Because we can just Dynamax Alecki now. But I probably should have maxed the... I didn't think it'd be Koba. I thought that'd be so unlikely. Huh. It's really interesting. Okay, let's just protect here. And then we bring in Alecki, and then we just max Lightning Kyogre and Body Press. I definitely misplayed this game, though, I think, by not maxing the Evil. Would Max Darkness have KO'd Amoonguss from that range? It's interesting they actually go for a Rage Powder there instead of Geyser into Yveltal, Spore into the Registeel slot. Okay. I'm gonna max Geyser into, yeah, Registeel. It's actually a really big deal because it means we stick around for a little bit longer and we have the potential to wake up on Yveltal now. So I'm going to Oblivion Wing here into Amoonguss and go for a Body Press. We have the Amnesia boost, so we should definitely survive. That last Geyser looked like we would have survived. But this is kind of awkward because I really think Yveltal was fantastic into my opponent's team. I should have maxed regardless. Like, even if they didn't have Koba there, Geyser still does so much into Yveltal. So I think that was a little bit greedy. Yveltal's just too good into my opponent's team. So I got a little greedy there, and I got punished for it, but that's okay. Like I said, we have the matchup here for sure. So even though, when you have the matchup, it gives you room to, make slight mistakes, right? We actually wake up with Yveltal. So, yeah, I'm really surprised they went for Rage Powder last. I thought Geyser into Yveltal and Spore into the Registeel would have made a little bit more sense. But I think for now, because Registeel's gotten these boosts, my opponent probably feels the pressure to actually KO the Registeel, which makes it really tough for them. So it's like you have to ignore one of the two threats on the field right now, essentially. And yeah, they target Reggie again, and we survive. Brilliant. Body Press should KO, and this is what Yveltal and Registeel can do. Beautiful. So yeah, I think if the Amoonguss didn't have Clear Smog, this game would have been even easier. But the fact that we got that Muddy Water off before they could attack was good. Cresselia is not going to be a huge threat to us at all, and we still have our Dynamax to play with. Plus, once again, the Registeel still has its boosts. So honestly, if my opponent's last one is Urshifu, what I can do is just Dynamax the Registeel. Well, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. Let's see what their last one is first of all. Oh, it's Metagross. Okay, I think this is definitely over then, because. Well, okay, I should not be so definitive in these statements because actually, I could definitely see Metagross still pulling it off here. But I think what we can do now is just Dynamax. Go for Max. Is it better? I never know whether the physical or the special is better. 135 versus 152. Cress is probably more specially invested. We should just go for our higher space power Max Darkness though, which is 130. Yeah. Alright, I'll just double up on the Cresselia. With us Iron Defense up onto Metagross. Sorry, onto Registeel, we're looking pretty good here. So, we're fortunate in this game to wake up a little bit sooner than later, and I could have optimized this gameplay by maybe maxing Yveltal one turn earlier. Because I think if Max Airstream just KOs Amoonguss there with the Koba Berry, then we're definitely good. And I'm thinking it would have with the extra increase in base power. So, and maybe Max Darkness also would have just KO'd outright. I didn't want to Max Darkness into the Metagross here because I don't want to activate a weakness policy, and beautiful. Max Darkness gets the KO into Cresselia, so that's great. Yeah, I definitely didn't play perfectly in this game, but I think the matchup was really tough for my opponent, if I'm to be honest. We should survive this. Registeel is unkillable, and we get the Body Press off. I think my opponent did a really good job with the matchup. The matchup is just so heavily in my favor here. Yveltal, Fini, Registeel is so tough for my opponent to deal with, I think, because it's just so defensive, and they don't have enough Pokemon to pressure onto the Yveltal. So, I definitely didn't play perfectly here. But this is why team building is a really important component of Pokemon. You know, when I first started playing VGC in like 2008, 2009, 2010, you could often win just by being a better player. Because back then, like, there weren't that many resources, right? So just having, like, a good EV to IV team would give you a natural advantage. Nowadays, everyone's going to go into a tournament or onto a rank ladder for the most part with, like, very competent teams, right? So team building now often is what is going to distinguish players, especially on a high level. If you can come up with, like, and I think my general tip to those, especially if you're trying to, like, do well in the tournament or do well in the ladder, is come up with something that gives your team an edge, right? Something that maybe catches your opponent off guard. It can be something as simple as an EV spread or just a different move, but those alone can often distinguish, you know, your team. And the element of surprise, I think, is often very valuable especially on the ladder, for example. And so, you know, this team took home a regional championship with over 100 players, and part of it is because it features this Registeel. Both Registeel and Arcanine, not very meta-standard Pokemon, right? If you asked me, like, oh, what Pokemon would you bet on to win the first Series 8 or, like, one of the first Series 8 events, I'm not sure I would have picked Registeel or Arcanine, but that's why it's able to win, right? Because if you're able to find Pokemon that people aren't expecting as much, that means their teams often will be a little bit underprepared for it. We've got another Kyogre team, but this one has the Regigigas. So Regigigas is definitely scary, but I'm thinking I can just go Alecki, Arcanine. Because what I can do here is just Electro Web and then Will-O-Wisp. And as soon as I burn your Regigigas, it's really useless. But I guess it's tough here because I kind of want all my I definitely want Registeel and Yveltal. But the question is basically, am I really willing to actually give up Tapu Fini here? Because it's quite good against Marowak and the Kyogre. In fact, it's good against most of my opponent's team, just not great against Gigas. But I think I'm willing to give this a shot. Because even though you have the... Okay, never mind. I just thought about the fact my opponent can just lead Tornadus Kyogre and roll through me. Because Arcanine doesn't have Protect. That's actually a really critical component to the equation. Although I suppose... No. This is not the best lead, just because my opponent has a possible lead that can crush me. Now, let's say even if they don't lead Tornadus Kyogre, the reality is that if they do, it gives them such an advantage that you always want to lead in a way like is neutral. Maybe, obviously you want to find a positive lead matchup. Fortunately, they go with Weezing Gigas, and this is why I wanted to go Alecki plus Arcanine, because I can just go for Electro Web Will-O-Wisp turn 1, but I don't think this was my absolute best lead, because if my opponent just led Tornadus Kyogre, this is really bad. But now I'm free to just go for an Electro Web and Will-O-Wisp. And burning Regigigas, which is going to be the Dynamax option on my opponent's team, is a really good start for us, right? So, yeah. I got the lead that I wanted to see, but I think Tornogre easily could have come out here, and that could have given us a lot of trouble. So, happy that it didn't come out, but also, I should have found a better lead. I guess the question then is, what is the better lead? Also, if we miss Electro Web here or Will-O-Wisp, this could be bad, so this is a decent play, but it's not a 100% guaranteed play, because I can miss both of those attacks, which is a little bit scary. However, if we burn Gigas on turn 1, we're in very good shape going into the remainder of the game, because I think Yveltal plus the Registeel should be able to just outbulk in the late game. Okay, Weezing protects, that's more than fine with me. The Air Balloon doesn't really help it in this matchup either, so please hit the Electro. If we miss, it's actually a disaster. Okay, we hit that, which is at least a good start, because now Elise already has speed control into Gigas, but really hoping to connect with this Will-O-Wisp. Come on, Arcanine. Nice. I feel like we haven't missed a Will-O-Wisp on Road to Ranked in so long, and I guess that's karma, but we take those. And they're just going to strike into Alecki. Yep, that's fine. You can see even with Will-O-Wisp, Alecki still just gets brought down to its sash, but that's fine. Question is, how specially defensive is your Weezing right now? Because I can just Thunderbolt plus Flamethrower it. But Volt Switch might be better. Actually, Volt Switch is definitely better, right? Because I can go into Registeel. Well, if I just KO Weezing... No, I think it's good to conserve this thing. Because Kyogre is definitely going to be in the back. So, yeah. I'm going to Volt Switch into Weezing and Flamethrower. Yeah, I like that. I could Thunderbolt Flamethrower into Weezing, but the thing is, I'm not sure trading Weezing for Alecki is actually worth it here. Oh, that actually might still just be a KO. I think Thunderbolt Flamethrower definitely would have picked up the knockout, but since I've burnt to Gigas, it's not really that big of a deal. Let's go into Registeel right now. With Registeel on, I'm just going to Flamethrower Amnesia this next turn, I think. Okay, nice. They Sludge Bomb. Perfect. It is going to be Max Quake, but that's fine. Into the Arcanine slot. You can see how strong Regigigas is, though, right? It's burnt and it's still doing as much damage as it is. So, yeah. Well played. Because they actually went for Max Quake, Thunderbolt plus Flamethrower definitely was the play there. But it's fine. Yeah, I still feel okay about this position. Because, like, we've already spent my 2 turns of my opponent's Dynamax, and I still have Dynamax Yveltal in the bag. Yveltal kind of crushes them in this late game. Yeah, so they're going to survive with the special defense boost. But it looks like they were going to survive anyway, so not that big of a deal. I expect Taunt here. Let's see. I kind of want to just protect here. I don't have a safe switch in because theoretically you can Max Strike right now if you're my opponent. But I think it's fine because I have the Yveltal in the back, right? Body Press alone is actually pretty good. But I'd really like to get an Iron Defense or Amnesia off here. So I like protecting, I think. And going for a Flamethrower onto Weezing. Maybe Thunderbolt Flamethrower into Weezing was just a better play there, but the Alecki still would have fainted, and I really want to conserve Alecki for Kyogre. They Will-O-Wisp there, which is interesting. That makes me think you don't have... they go for Strike. Let's see if this is enough to KO after the burn. I think it is still. Yes, it is. But Will-O-Wisp onto Registeel is totally fine. That's actually not really a problem at all. I'm surprised it's that over Taunt. So, I've sought out my opponent's Dynamax, which is what we were going for here, right? And now you have a burnt Regigigas. By the way, Regigigas often becomes like absolute dead weight if it does not survive. If it gets after the Dynamax, especially because it's burnt here. Imagine a burnt Regigigas with slow start, right? That's basically a disaster. So right now I'm actually going to leverage that and use that to my advantage and basically take this opportunity to actually get some boosts up with the Registeel. So I think it's better to Amnesia first because Kyogre is likely in the back. Dynamax here and Max Airstream into Weezing. Sorry about that. That was my computer updating. That was really loud. Turn off notification sounds. Okay, yeah. Apologies. So I think in this position, I mean, maybe Weezing protects, but what the heck is a burnt Regigigas going to do? The only problem is the Ice Punch Freeze onto the Yveltal. Anything other than that, and Max Airstream into Weezing, Amnesia here is really, really safe. So, I think, like, with defensive Yveltal, you're often not going to go, like, toe-to-toe with your opponent's Dynamaxes, because it doesn't do that much damage, right? So, basically, in this position, I am using it late game, because late game Yveltal still does a fair amount, especially because, like, there aren't that many Pokemon that actually reliably resist both Dark and Flying, right? So now it's really difficult for my opponent to knock me out. They actually don't protect Weezing, which is kind of shocking to me, because now your Regigigas is even more useless. So we'll take that. But I guess my opponent maybe just wanted a free switch in, but this is... Now I can talk about the concept of leaving a Pokemon intentionally out on the field, right? Sure, I could go for Body Press right now with Registeel onto Regigigas, but what does that actually get me? Not very much. It gives my opponent a free switch in. Now they have a slow start Regigigas that's also burnt. And like I said, that thing is not going to do anything against us right now. The best thing it can do is maybe an Ice Punch Freeze into Yveltal, but those are odds that I'm willing to take. They high horsepower. Oh, okay. At first I thought it was into Yveltal, but it looks like we were just lucky enough to dodge. But, I mean, I think that would do such a low amount that we would just heal back anyway afterwards, so yeah. I expect Kyogre to come out now. Oh, it's Tornadus. Okay, if it's Tornadus, then Kyogre is in the back, and that's fine. Because what I'm going to do here... Like I said, once again, play around the Regigigas. We have a Alecki in the back, so that's good. You can Taunt or you can Tailwind, one of the two. I don't mind going for Iron Defense here, because even if you Tailwind... Yveltal will outspeed, right? Okay, I actually think the best play here is just a Body Press Tornadus and Max Airstream. There's no way, like, Regigigas we basically can completely ignore right now. So let's see if they go for Taunt. Nope, they opt for Tailwind. That's totally fine with me. Because the thing now is I just outspeed with my Yveltal against Kyogre, right? So what I can do this next turn, we're gonna... Oh, does Body Press KO here actually? Maybe not, but actually not picking up the knockout might be in our advantage in this position. Because it denies my opponent a free switch in on the first turn of their Tailwind. So they're gonna hit the high horsepower, and yeah, that did, what, 25 damage? So leftover heals most of that back off. We're gonna get Body Press. So I doubled up on a Tornadus here because I was like, you know... Yeah, that actually doesn't KO, but I actually think that's a good thing for us. Because the thing is now, Regigigas is not going to run Protect most of the time, right? Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. A fair amount of Regigigases do run Protect, but it's very safe to just go for a third Max Airstream, and once I get a third Max Airstream off, I just outspeed against the Kyogre, and I can just Snarl it. I guess the scary thing is if I miss a Snarl, and then it crits a Water Spout against us. So, it might be better to actually just Oblivion Wing and not risk missing. Especially because we know we have Regigigas in the back. And as soon as Tailwind's over, Alecki just comes out and Thunderbolts. So, yeah. You know, obviously there's Arcanine on this team instead of Incineroar. I think one common question is, like, why run Arcanine over Incineroar? One of the, you know, reasons is because it's faster, and another reason is because it has Will-O-Wisp. That's not to say that... Actually, Incineroar does carry Will-O-Wisp, and I think if you're looking for a fun tech move... By the way, we're lucky to dodge Hurricane there. My opponent's win con there, I think, was hit the Hurricane and get a Confusion on us. If they don't get Confusion, then we should be good. Even with the Confusion, it's still a 3v1 in this endgame. So, in the end... You know, my opponent didn't have too much offense after Regigigas, and if you can just stall out Gigas' offensive pressure in the early game, it's really, really good. And hilariously enough, we've boosted Registeel its speed enough here, too. So, now we're at +3 speed Yveltal. We've already gotten an Amnesia boost on this Registeel as well. I do think in this position, we don't need to risk a miss, especially because we have Alecki in the back, and there's only 2 turns of Tailwind left. So the best play here, I think, is just to protect the Registeel, get some damage on the Kyogre with an 100% accurate attack, and then Alecki just comes out and clicks Thunderbolt. So that's the direction we want to go in. But you can see how good this Yveltal Registeel combination is, right? It really just won us both of these matches. But this game was important because I had to shut down the Gigas as early as I could. So yeah, let's just protect here. We're at +3 speed, so the only way you outspeed is if you're Choice Scarfed. I think Sucker Punch might honestly do more than Oblivion Wing here. It should, right? So let's just protect Sucker Punch. Even though this is minus attack Yveltal, its attack 8 like actual stat is still not that bad, and Kyogre's physical defense is really bad. Plus we still get the Dark Aura boost. Yeah, look at that damage. Nice. Okay, yourself for Origin Pulse. Yep, that's fine. Snarl's tempting right against a special attacker, but given the numbers advantage, well, actually I think in this game it literally makes no difference because we have Alecki in the back, and yeah, AV Yveltal is just such a defensive monster. Takes so little from that, not even 50%. So let's see. Can go for a Body Press now, and just Sucker Punch again. With Alecki in the back, it's a guaranteed win at this point, so there's nothing my opponent can do. Yeah. That's why I wanted to conserve Alecki, by the way, because I think like I mean, it's very unlikely Kyogre isn't on my opponent's team composition in that game, right? And even if it isn't, like, what is it going to be instead? Marowak? Well, that's fine. We have Yveltal. So I wanted to conserve that Alecki, and basically the debate was whether or not, let's say I Thunderbolt and Flamethrower into the Weezing slot, right? Let's say we KO Weezing, but my opponent then gets Sludge Bomb off against me and Max Quake into us, and then they get a free switch into that Kyogre. That's actually not worth it for us. You do want to consider when you want to give your opponent the opportunity to switch into a brand new Pokemon. In that last game, it just didn't make very much sense to switch in, right? I don't want Kyogre to come out because that's way more offensive, and Regigigas, like, we're just doing our best to sell out its Dynamax. So Will-O-Wisp on the Arcanine here was huge. That's exactly why you run an attack like that. And then Alecki, the Yveltal plus the Registeel combo really, really nicely to secure us that end game. But we definitely have been fortunate in the matchups today. Like, going up against Kyogre definitely helps when you're using an Yveltal team, so we'll definitely take that. Either way, let's just look for our next match here. Okay, last game here, and I'm glad it's against Lapras Zacian, because it's actually probably one of the toughest matchups for this team. So we had a couple of good matchups, and now let's see how we can play out of what I think is a trickier matchup. And the main reason is because you can Sacred Sword to ignore, with Zacian, to ignore the defense boost on Registeel. Arcanine's really essential here. In fact, I might lead it just for Snarl pressure. The thing with Landorus is, I was going to say I could go Alecki, Lando, and Thunderbolt Rockfall into Lapras, but you could just switch in one of your Intimidators to counteract that, which isn't good for us. Fini's just, Yveltal's just really bad here, which is why this is kind of awkward for us, I think. But I think I like Arcanine Fini, Registeel, and Yveltal. Wait, honestly, you could, like, max Alecki here instead. I think max Yveltal's still okay if I can neutralize the Zacian, but maybe Fini isn't the smartest lead here, because I set up the Misty Terrain, which means I can't burn them immediately, right? So let's see. I do think Lapras Zacian, is one of the most common archetypes in the beginning of the format. Still very good in this format. They're going to go with Raichu and Lapras. Okay. How do I feel about this? I mean, it's definitely a free Calm Mind turn 1, and we can pivot Arcanine out. Or I can Snarl Calm Mind. What I'm just nervous about is Fake Out Geyser into Arcanine, but I think you probably read into the Fake Out Geyser here. Yeah. With the Snarl, we should survive a Max Geyser unless you're Life Orb, but Life Orb's definitely a possibility. I don't have a Water Switch in here because Fini's already out on the field, so I think I'm just going to Snarl and Calm Mind here. If you're my opponent, I could also see you just going for a Resonance turn 1, reading into Arcanine Protect. So yeah. They're going to max Lapras, that's fine. Zacian is, like, Lapras Zacian is just so tough for Yveltal because both of those hit Yveltal for so much damage, right? And Yveltal's doing nothing in return, basically. So there's honestly a decent argument to be made to not even bring Yveltal into this matchup, but I don't know, if we can get a speed boost onto it, you can still max Airstream in the late game and heal up with Oblivion Wing after Dynamax is over. Ah, Eerie Impulse. Okay, very cool. That's a great play, but at least I get a Snarl off into Lapras. Man, that makes this so much tougher too, actually. Maybe I did need to go with Landorus. But what's Landorus gonna do against Lapras? Not much. See if they Resonance or Geysered. I get the Calm Mind off, so special defense boost still definitely valuable, but obviously not doing very much damage with the Fini right now. Okay, and they're gonna go for the Geyser. But I think with Snarl we should survive. I really hope so. If not, that'd be a problem. Okay, yeah, that's enough. Nice. And that activates our Berry, which is also good. Which allows me to get another Snarl off. And then we can go from there. So, Raichu Steel and Yveltal in the back. Yeah, I'm just going to Snarl again here and go for another Calm Mind. Well, I guess I should just get damage off. What does special defense boosts help against? Because they're only a physical Pokemon in the back anyway. They're probably just going to Snarl me again, to be honest, but I don't mind chipping away at the Raichu. I just, dealing with Zacian in the endgame is looking kind of tough. Oh, interesting. They actually just Volt Switch. Zacian coming in right now would make a lot of sense. And actually, I didn't conserve Arcanine well. Yeah. I think Zacian's looking really good against us, actually. So maybe I needed to bring Landorus. It's just tough with the Raichu. I think if Raichu weren't on the team, I'd consider, like, a Lecky Landorus, for example. Oh, interesting. They actually bring out Landorus. Okay, so we know they're 4 Pokemon at this point, because Zacian's definitely going to be their last one. Okay. I think the approach is to ideally... Rain is set up. I can bring in my Yveltal, max Airstream. Let's see if they Resonance or Geyser first and foremost. It's -1 Moonblast against what's probably Assault Vest Landorus, so this should really do nothing. Yep, that confirms the AV for me, and they go for Resonance, okay. But because you're targeting Arcanine here, what I can do is pivot Arcanine now out into Registeel. What that accomplishes is... What does that accomplish? We go out into Registeel here, and we go for a... I don't mind Muddy Watering here. What it accomplishes is it conserves Arcanine, which means I can maybe max Airstream, Flamethrower, Zacian, or Will-O-Wisp it once Misty Turn is over. It's just Raichu with Eerie Impulse is a big problem. Oh, that was a really good play. I love the Self-Earthquake there. That was really well done. I mean, it was their best play by far, too. Sorry, the noise I made there just sounded really weird. But it was a really, really good play. Yeah, because I think Registeel might go down now, and losing that is no good for us. Actually, Registeel's so tanky, but... Ugh. Okay, what to do now? Their Dynamax is over, though, at least, which is a good thing for us. I think I want to protect here. What do I do? Such a defensive game from both ends. I can see them protect Earthquaking. I'm going to protect Muddy Water. I need Yveltal in right now. Like, that's the main thing we're looking for. Yeah, they protect. So we survive. I don't know if we survive Earthquake, though. That's the problem. AV Landorus plus the Eerie Impulse was really tough. Because this was already tough with Lapras and Zacian alone, and then they had even more things on top. Neither of those things are really surprising for what it's worth, by the way. Like, those are pretty standard for the Pokemon that my opponent brought, but really good plays overall. Okay, Fini does hang on, though, which is huge. So we get our berry activated there. I don't know if Muddy Water KOs in Rain with the AV -1 spot. I don't think it does. I think it's Landorus is going to hang out with like 5-10%. Yeah, I could have gone into Yveltal there. Ugh. That might have been the play. In order to beat the Zacian in the back, I need to position myself to give Arcanine a speed boost. That's basically it. So, I think I'm going to switch Registeel out here and go for a Moonblast onto Landorus. This is a long drawn-out game, but I think my opponents played it better than I have. It's just so tough because like Landorus is just so bad into Lapras if I can't guarantee a KO onto Lapras, and with double Intimidate on their team, I can't ensure a KO onto Lapras ever, basically. Okay, they U-turn. Oh, if you just go into Zacian, that's a really good U-turn. Man, they have been just playing one step ahead of me. That's a really good U-turn. Because I think Zacian just comes in now and kind of gives me a lot of trouble. I don't even have a good position to Dynamax. I could max Geyser Zacian. Oh, interesting. They bring out Raichu for... Okay. You know, that's actually... I'm happy to see that, because it gives me the opportunity to maybe max Airstream with Yveltal. Freeze Dry into the Fini slot. I don't even know if this KOs. Yeah, it doesn't. If I'm my opponent, what am I doing here? Eerie Impulse onto Yveltal, I think. I do have a physical attack on this thing, though. But how in the world am I KOing Lapras now? I don't want to Dynamax this thing. So, yeah, I'm going to Foul Play here. Switch out into Registeel for recovery. And then I can bring Arcanine out to intimidate Zacian when it comes in. I still just think Zacian in the endgame is looking really scary. Maybe the play here was actually just the max Airstream Flamethrower this turn. Yeah, there's Eerie Impulse. So not Dynamaxing helps us, but it's still tough. Maybe we Dynamax Arcanine, as crazy as that seems. Okay, Sucker Punch should KO Raichu now, and they're going to Freeze Dry into... Yeah, okay, that's good. Alright, that's a good turn, at least. Oh. That's not good. This is one of the downsides to using a slower, bulkier team, right? The more turns that happen and the more switches you make, you leave yourself vulnerable to stuff like that happening. That's really bad. I'm honestly thinking about switching Registeel out right now, Dynamaxing and max Airstreaming into Raichu. That freeze, I think because our main win con against Lapras was a Registeel Body Press. It's still not over though, so let's not give up. I like Sucker Punch here into Raichu, Body Press. But they could just switch Raichu out into Zacian right now. Let's see if they do. They probably should. Yeah, it's a very safe play for them to make, right? Okay, that's definitely a little bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. Okay, they stay in though, and we get the Sucker Punch off, so Raichu faints. So no more Eerie Impulses anymore. It is a big question whether or not I can... Oh, maybe it doesn't matter. Hydro Pump shouldn't KO though, because Registeel's so defensive, but... Yeah, look how well it takes that. I need even a single Body Press dramatically changes the outcome of this game. But once again, like, that's like when you use a much slower paced, bulkier team like this, you do leave yourself vulnerable to crits, for example, especially when you're trying to get defensive boosts. Yeah, so Zacian comes in now. I mean, I could obviously switch Yveltal into Arcanine, but at this point, I just have no good Dynamax options, which is really tough. Even if I weren't frozen, to be honest, I still think this would be kind of a tricky game, especially because they have screens up and I don't have Max Flare on this thing. But I think if they didn't have Eerie Impulse, Fini Calm Minding would be a big win con, but they did. So if I were to replay this, I'd maybe reconsider. Well, in a best of 1, I think it's fine to bring Fini, but in a best of 3, I think the adjustment I'd make is bringing Landorus, because that would be our best Dynamax option. That's a good switch as well. I think this was doable without the freeze, but with the freeze now, it's looking kind of tough. Let's see who they targeted. They might have subbed, actually. Alright, they went for Behemoth Blade, which is good. We can still definitely pull this game back, but it's going to be very close. Oh, not of that one-shots. I honestly thought we had a chance of surviving. Okay, we need to thaw out. That's a shame. That is a shame. I think that will probably seal it up then. Especially if they have Sacred Sword. Yeah, I don't really see an out at this point. Oh, that's definitely a little bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. Freeze is just a tough, like, status condition to play around, because at least, like, with the others, like, Sleep, you know there's a limit to it, but, man, they're just gonna Behemoth Blade me, aren't they? Is there any world in which I win with Dynamax Registeel? Boosting attacks doesn't accomplish anything, so I think the answer is no. Yeah, I think it's too late at this point. Guess I can max Airstream here and Body Press, but I don't think Behemoth Blade will KO, but you can just Rock Slide as well. So, a little bit frustrating, but I think my opponent also played this game well, and, you know, that's the reality. We had really good matchups in the earlier matches today, which made it easier for us to play, and in this game it was a tough matchup, and when you're up in a tough matchup, you have less room for error, plus RNG, like less room for RNG, right? And that's just a result. But I think my opponent played this better than I did in this game as well, because I didn't have a great Dynamax option at any point in the game, to be honest. Okay, we do survive that. You know, it's crazy. If we had Max Flare, I actually think we'd win this game. There's also still a small chance we can win if we thaw out right now. But if it's a 3-turn phase, that's just so rough, because it would have been a Body Press into Lapras, Body Press into Lando, and a Body Press into Zacian. But if we had Max Flare, I actually think we'd win this game for sure, even with the freeze. It's a 3rd turn of freeze. Okay. I think that will seal it up, because I can't protect, and I don't have Max Flare. Aurora Veil does wear off, but Zacian should just sweep through everything at this point. Okay. We've definitely, I feel like, gotten very more lucky than less lucky in Road to Ranked in the last couple of weeks, so really not one to complain here. Just trying to think if there's any out. I mean, you're just gonna Behemoth Blade, and yeah. I guess Max Airstream crit into Thaw Out Body Press crit into Zacian gives us a slight chance. Okay, especially if they protect. Yeah, I really wish we had Flare in this position, but it's so tough to give up Snarl Foul Play. Yeah, it's not enough. I think Body Press is only doing like 30% at most. I was hoping that Arcanine would survive the Behemoth Blade, because the Zacian was at neutral. So I wonder what the damage roll on that was, because if we survive, it's actually a really big deal. Because then we can cycle Arcanine out, give up the Fini, and then bring it back in for an Intimidate, or give it a speed boost. What I think I probably needed to do in this game was just position Arcanine at a point where I had it at +1 speed. The problem was that Lapras was still out on the field at all times as well. Yeah, that's 4 Body Presses we had the opportunity of getting off. But it is what it is. I also could have set up terrain, like, I could have positioned myself to have the terrain up so that I don't get frozen, right? But I didn't do that. And I let myself open to a freeze. And I think one thing I didn't do well here was realize how big of a win condition Registeel alone was, just because it's so bulky, and Body Press actually does really good damage into Zacian plus Lapras. But, you know what, in the end, I don't feel too bad about this. I think it was definitely a tricky matchup. My opponent played well, and we got a little bit of unlucky, right? Let's, like, if that freeze doesn't happen, I think it does dramatically change into a different game. I want to rewatch the tape and see what I could have done better, because I do think there were multiple opportunities to play better, but my opponent also made some really sick plays, and the Eerie Impulse was really nice. In the end, Fini was not the bring. I think Landorus over Fini is probably what I need to do in this matchup. Is it scary against Lapras? Absolutely, but I think it's still worth bringing, because Fini was absolutely useless for us in the end. And even if you don't have Eerie Impulse, the win con I was thinking is you Calm Mind a bunch and then you can max Geyser into the Zacian, but Behemoth Blade still does neutral damage into it. So I think I've learned the matchup a little bit better now, where Fini is probably not worth it and Landorus is just a better bring. Sure, Lapras hits it for super effective damage, but we do way more damage into Zacian and into Lapras with the potential max Rockfall. And Yveltal was not a good max candidate in this game, so it definitely needed to be Dynamax Landorus. But yeah, like I think in the end of the day, you know, we learned a lot from this game, and you know, even if we didn't get frozen there, I think my opponent still might have been in a decent position. It's just tough because like a freeze just dramatically changes how you play the outcome of the game afterwards. So it's hard to say like what would have happened. We would have gotten a lot more body presses off. That would have been helpful. But the main issue still was that I didn't have great damage output into Zacian. I'm not sure I could have KO'd that anyway, even with the freeze. So, it's definitely frustrating. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure it actually changed the outcome of the match because I didn't bring my best Pokemon into this one. But I've been rambling on long enough. That's going to be it for this one. Really, really fun team. And in the end of the day, I think, we won the matchups that we were supposed to win, lost the one that was a little bit tougher, but I also wasn't 100% sure on what the best approach there was. And I think Landorus would have been big. But them having Avian Landorus and the Eerie Impulse on Raichu, which once again are pretty standard, definitely made things tougher. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.